Hey guys, it's Alyssa, the hopeless romantic redhead.
And I'm Danielle, the whodunit detective.
And welcome to Main Character Syndrome. If you feel like you are the main character in your life, you are in the right place. Guys, it's been a fun time. We've had Taylor Swift come out with Life of a Showgirl. We had October 3rd, Mean Girls Day, and now we are getting into spooky season with all the fall festivals. Danielle, it's been great.
Yes, I love this time of year. Fall's probably one of my favorite seasons, if not my favorite. And we've had a lot of exciting things happening. Really excited about the new album that came out. I need your favorite songs from The Life of a Showgirl.
Ooh, okay. So I really love The Fate of Ophelia, like the
Mm,
first track. As
for
soon as I
sure.
heard it, I was like, that is so good. That one, and then Elizabeth Taylor, and then Canceled.
Yep. I would say, yeah, The Fate of Ophelia, definitely. I really also liked Canceled. Like, I'm kind of borderline, it might be my favorite on the album, even though it's about Blake Lively, and I'm kind of meh about Blake Lively, but I'm like, yeah, that's a good song. It has such
See,
a
some
good
people
beat.
were saying it wasn't about Blake Lively and that she was just because she had a bunch of friends. Some people thought it was Sophie Turner when she was going through her divorce with Joe Jonas and she allowed her to stay in her New York apartment.
I
Um,
mean, it could be about all of them.
It could
Like,
be. It
it
very
could
much
just,
could be. Because we went to the movie this weekend and basically she introduced each song as we listened to it in the theater. And she just said, she had a couple friends calling her because she knows she has experience with this. She's like, I've been canceled one too many times and they always ask me what they do. And she's like, you'll be fine.
yeah. So it's probably collectively about several of her friends. But yeah, I really like that song. I really like Wish List,
Hmm.
and I do really like The Life of a Showgirl.
I know that one's so good too. I think I put that
Mm,
as my number two.
yeah, great ones. I like the
Yeah.
album. It's not my favorite. Like I'm still like it's no Midnights to me, but it's really easy to listen to and it's fun and I love that she's like in her lover era part two
Hmm.
for sure.
This too, like, there are so many people going on TikTok right now saying that this is the worst album because it's not like a lyrical genius piece or anything like that. It's like she's having fun with this album. Like, why are people so miserable? They hated Poets Department because it was too lyrical,
Hmm.
too complicated, and now
Oh,
she does something like this and they don't like that either. It's like you
yeah. I
guys
mean,
forget that she did Shake It Off and then she also did Me with the Lover album. Like she
and
can have
stay,
fun with
stay,
songs. It doesn't have
stay.
to be exact stay, stay, stay. It doesn't have to be a lyrical piece to be good.
No, no, it's just a fun album. And I mean, who cares what people say? I don't think she actually cares. I think she was just having fun with this and love that for her. And I love that she's so happy.
I think she's just gonna cry into her money if she needs a
Right?
good cry, or Travis Kelce's arms, or her millions of dollars worth of engagement ring. Like
Like, yeah,
she's
I,
fine.
yeah, but
But no,
whatever.
Sabrina Carpenter on that album really, really did well with Showgirl. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm so obsessed with Sabrina Carpenter. So
So
obsessed. And I
speaking
got
of these main characters, what was your main character moment?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have two now that I brought up Sabrina Carpenter. Today, one of my girlfriends texted me and like I hadn't talked to her in a while, and she was like, we were catching up and like, what's your favorite songs off the new Taylor Swift album? And she's like, and I haven't talked to you since Man's Best Friend came out. And she was like, so I need your thoughts on that. And I told her all my favorite songs from Man's Best Friend, and she was like, this is what she said. I like took a screenshot of it because I was like, ah. She said. I found Man's Best Friend to be so very much Danielle coded. It's so
Oh,
fun and witty. And I was like, thank you.
you are
So
fun and witty.
yeah, thank you very much. And then I don't know, I guess my other one's not as exciting now, but a John Williams concert. So he was not there, but he is the guy who did all like the Star Wars music and some of the Harry Potter songs and Jurassic Park. And so they played like all of these really fun big hits, and it was awesome.
Oh, fun.
What were yours?
Um, my main character moment was I was invited to go to the Talks here in Chesterfield. So there are a bunch of detoxes around the US, and it's basically a body detox. It is a lymphatic massage, and they invited me to come out and try it. So I did, and oh my God, it is quite the experience. Let me
Are you
tell you.
like full influencer now?
I don't know. I was like, how did you guys find me? They're like Instagram. I will say though, so I did have one TikTok Instagram reel pop off, and it was just
Nice.
me singing in the mirror to a Hamilton song. Then
Mhm.
Hamilton commented on it. Someone sent me Hamilton pajamas, and then I made another one saying like these are your nightly Hamilton affirmations. And then Hamilton the musical commented again on that one.
Wow.
So
Look at you.
I could be. I maybe I want to be eventually, but
Man.
so far people are just reaching out to me to try their stuff and make videos. It's fun.
Yeah. So you can continue to reach out to Alyssa. Unfortunately, I'm under contract and not allowed to do this fun stuff, but
That's why I love not having to be in news anymore because I don't own my image, so I can do what I want.
yeah. Or you own your image now. No one else
I
owns
own
your
my
image.
image now, which is wild.
Yeah. I had to get permission to do this podcast, but I'm very grateful that I've been allowed to. And so my work was very nice about that
Oh, that's good.
because they really could have said no.
They could have.
Yeah. They were like, no, no, but
Shout out to
whatever.
the station.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what have
Okay,
you been
reading.
reading? Quick reading report card, and let's get into
Hmm.
this. I'm excited about this book. Last book I read was Wayward by Amelia Hart, and it was very good. I think it's kind of like a Halloween book, not really, like it's a little witchy. Trigger warning, there is some sexual assault in there.
Mm.
Um, and then currently reading Tower of Dawn. I've not finished it yet. And then, yeah, that's really what I'm going to be reading next, Empire of Storms.
Yeah.
That's it. Or
Yeah.
not Empire of Storms,
Kingdom of Ash.
Kingdom of Ash. That's it.
I'm excited for you to read that one. That is a thick book. Let me tell you, we're gonna have to divide that into like 6 or 7 episodes.
Mm, man. What have you read?
I have read, so I just finished The Hurricane Wars. It's been on my TBR. I forget who the author is, but it has a shadow daddy. So if you guys are into that, it has a shadow daddy and it has like a fake relationship, fake marriage, marriage of convenience kind of thing. And the world is ending. So it's actually a really good book. And I'm reading the second one now. Then I have Tower of Dawn, of course. And then I cannot wait to reread Kingdom of Ash. That has been one of my most anticipated reads this year, just because I get to
Mhm.
dive back into that world.
Yeah. Oh, and I do want to say, right now I saw on Audible there are a lot of books on sale. So when this episode comes out, it should still be happening. I think it's happening all through the month of October. So like a lot of books are on sale. I know Frida McFadden, like a bunch of
Hmm.
her audiobooks are on clearance, like $7 or $8. So if you've been like
Wow.
holding off purchasing those until they're a lot cheaper, now's the time.
Might have to check that out. I know a lot of books are going to be coming on sale here soon for the holidays, so definitely check
Hmm.
that out, especially Target. Target always has their buy three, get three, or no. No.
I think,
I think it's like BOGO or something if you
yeah,
buy
I think, or
three.
buy one, get one 50% off.
Yeah, but there's like three of them.
I
So I
don't
remember
know.
I got 3 books.
I don't shop at Target as much.
I only did it for the book sale, so
Nice.
have to check that out. Anywho, let's dive into Tower of Dawn, guys. This is the 6th book of the Throne of Glass series.
Yep, second to last.
Holy moly, it's been a journey. So
Yep.
this is Chaol's story, if you remember. Spoiler alert for those who have not read the Throne of Glass series. By now you should know the drill. If you have not read these books, please do not listen to this podcast. Go back, read the books. We highly recommend them. They're very good. Or go listen to our previous episodes if you don't want to read them and you're still here. You have been warned.
Yes, we will
So,
spoil. Today we're doing chapters 1 through 17.
Hmm.
and of Tower of Dawn. So we will spoil those chapters and not go beyond that. So if you haven't read past that yet, don't worry. We're not going to spoil what happens at the end. I haven't even finished it. So,
Right. If you guys remember, Chaol was not in the last book, Empire of Storms. He was on his way to the Torre Chesme to get healed from the injury that he received in Queen of Shadows from the King of Otterlin, who is now dead. Chaol currently cannot walk. He is in a wheelchair. So he is at the Torre Chesme to find these magical healers who can make him walk again.
yes. And he's with Nesrin. And if you remember, before Empire of Storms, him and Nesrin had kind of this romantic relationship that was starting to bloom. And that's kind of also why Nesrin went with him. I mean, he needed someone to go with him. But that's kind of why she also went with him instead, is because they had this relationship blossoming. And so we'll kind of get into all of that and see where that relationship goes.
Yep. You want to kick us
So,
off?
yes. Chapter 1, we start with Chaol and Nesrin traveling to the southern continent. They arrive to Antica. He's in a wheelchair and he's supposed to find a healer at the Torre Chesme to heal him and also to get the leaders there in the southern continent to become allies. So, they have kind of this whole different establishment. It's not a king, there's a Coggin. And so the previous Coggin we learned was really nice. They freed all of the slaves in the area, and now the slaves have kind of turned into regular paid workers. And the current Coggin seems to treat all of these servants now very well. And the current Coggin, we learn, has not selected his heir yet. So in their system, it's very different. They, meaning the Coggin, get to select who will take their throne ish, we'll call it a throne, after them. And they have a bunch of children, basically, as many children as they can, and they pick from one person from all of their children. So it's not just the firstborn son that we typically see. Their choice is written, it's put into a vault until they die or until it's announced officially by him. And it's basically what they say to avoid collapse and war. So we learn that there are 5 royal children greeting Chaol. There's supposed to be 6. Nesrin has kind of briefed Chaol and is like, okay, the Coggin has 6 children that you'll meet, and this is how you need to act towards the Coggin. They arrive to this palace, and 5 children are there. They greet them, and Nesrin notices that one of the children is missing, and the Coggin kind of is lined up behind them all. So quickly, I just kind of want to go over the children's names and kind of who they are, because I found this to be a little bit confusing at first, especially being an audiobook listener reader. And not having those names right in front of me. So there's Argon, and he's the eldest sibling. He's described as being kind of like cold and politically ambitious. There's Caution. He's very warm-hearted, and he's the prince that has the crush on Yrene. And then there's Sartak, and he's the commander of what is the Rukin, which in my mind are like giant flying birds. And then there's Hussar, and she is a sharp-witted princess. She's very intelligent. She's politically shrewd, is how she's described. And she is also friends with Yrene. And it was like Hussar, Caution, and Yrene were kind of like, best buds. Then there's Duva, and she is the youngest and kind of the quiet princess. And she is currently married and pregnant.
Yep. It's also really funny too, because I read the physical books and then you listen to the audiobooks most of the time. And just to see your spelling of all the names, it's just so funny to see how people like to spell it differently and like what you hear versus what you put
Uh-huh.
on paper.
Well, I know that I have to pronounce this aloud. And
Yep.
so I spell how it sounds so I don't mess it up on the podcast.
It makes sense. Coggin sounds exactly what it is because you
Mm-hmm.
spelled it Coggin, and actually
Uh-huh.
the book spells it Khagan. And I listened to the audiobooks too as I read the physical. Because this was a hard book if you don't know how to pronounce the names. Like,
Hmm.
it's like they're in a foreign land and they use foreign language.
Yeah. And I spell caution like English caution, like Caution.
You did. Oh, that's amazing. All
Yeah.
right. Chapter 2. So, Nesrin, her dad was from Antica, so she has family here. She feels home here. We meet Urus, who is the current Khagan, and again, we learn that he has the 6 children. Urus fought for his crown in a brutal battle with his siblings. He killed 2, he exiled 1, and then 2 swore fealty to him by agreeing to become infertile so they couldn't produce heirs. This is a cutthroat kingdom.
Yeah.
Sartak is the Khagan's second born. He's commander of the Rook Riders, the Rookin. And Rooks, as you said, are big birds and they look like eagles. And then Sartak's Rook is Kadara. Argan is the eldest son, and he's the one who runs the politics. He's also known as the Prince of Spies. He's the one that has all the spies in the castle, whatever it's called, the tower. Duva is the second youngest, recently married to a prince in another territory, and she's currently pregnant. Caution is the fourth born. He controls the armies on land. Hassar is the third born. She is in control of the armadas on the sea, which is basically all the warships. And then during the time that he is meeting the Khagan, Chaol then tries to negotiate with Urus, the Khagan, by offering jewels and gold from Dorian and Aelin in exchange for Antica's help in the war. Now, Urus reveals that he knows that Aelin was the assassin Selena Sardathian, and that he's practically being offered blood money, which he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Urus is also insulted that Duva never got a wedding gift from Rifthold and Otterlin when the other kingdoms sent her one. We also find out that the youngest daughter, Tumalin, died suddenly a few weeks ago. And so there's a bunch of memorial stuff and people are like mourning, like the kingdom is like shutting their windows and everything. Like it's not a joyous
White
occasion.
flags being
Mhm.
raised. Yeah, it was a big one.
Urus then says he will consider the offer while Chaol and Nezrin stay in Antica, while Chaol heals, because he knows he has an injury, and he gives him permission to be healed by those at the Torre Chesme. He also tells Chaol to keep the gold and jewels because Otterlin has been taken over by Duke Parrington, Erewhon, as we know, and knows that Chaol, Dorian, and Aelin will need it more than they do at Antica. And also, Nezrin is learning about this, the fact that Duke Parrington sacked Rifthold for the first time, and she's
Mm.
shocked.
Yeah. So now that um the country, Otterlin, has been taken over in chapter 3, Nazarene is hurting because her family is still there, her father, her sister, and she's really scared that they didn't get out. And so Nazarene's hurting. Chaol's really concerned for Dorian because there's no word on where he is. And then Prince Caution goes to Chaol's room. He then tells him that he's kind of convinced the Khagan to invite them to dinner every single night that they are there. And Caution says that he believes there are Erewhon spies in the castle, but that his other siblings and father don't really believe so yet. And he says that they could also be from another's force too, potentially. He just doesn't know. He just does not think that his sister died by suicide. And so he alludes to believing one of the spies had her killed. Caution says that the sister jumped from her balcony, leaving behind a husband. And like I mentioned, he doesn't believe that it was actually suicide. And he doesn't know why the youngest sister specifically would have been targeted. She was buried with a special sword, and I'm not sure if this is important or not. But Caution is the one who told his father, the Khagan, that they should be inviting them to dinner to try to kind of get this relationship going. And Caution believes that Chaol might be able to help him out personally. And he wants him to be on the lookout for who this potential spy could be because he has experience. looking for kind of, we'll call them spies from Erewhon, his people, which we know are actually called Volk. So then a servant comes in to bathe Chaol, and he's like, this is weird. Okay. And he's just like uncomfortable. And this just goes to show kind of he's also having this struggle dealing with his um, paralysis of his legs.
She's also not just there to bathe him. She's there to give him other services if he wants to.
Yeah. And he's like, no thanks.
Apparently, that's something their servants like to do on their own.
Mm.
Chapter 4, we did mention Yrene. If you guys don't know what that name is, go back and read Assassin's Blade, because that is where she shows up. So Yrene Towers has been at the Torre Chesme for 2 years now, working under Hafiza, who is the head healer. Yrene is able to do this thanks to Aylin's actions in Assassin's Blade with the money and brooch that she left for her to become a healer. Yrene is ready to return to Otterland to help with the war efforts. She used to be close with Caution, the prince, until he wanted to be more than friends, and Yrene is now uncomfortable with him after his confession. And we don't really get a ton of details about this, but it must have been pretty bad for her to be like, oh, I need to avoid this guy.
Hmm.
Hafiza then assigns Yrene as Chaol's healer. Yrene is angry and she doesn't want to heal Chaol because Otterland's soldiers burned her mother alive when they killed all the magic wielders and healers. So, fair. I
Yeah.
understand where Yrene is coming from here.
Yeah.
She still has a note and brooch that Selena slash Aelin gave to her all those years ago. But remember, she never found out who Aelin Selena was or like even found out her name. All she knew and was this girl helped her and that she has these two things left behind.
Yeah. So then in chapter 5, Chaol and Nezrin go to dinner. One prince, I can't remember his name, he kept asking inappropriate questions about Rifthold and the Old King that basically annoy Chaol. And it wouldn't surprise me. I think it's probably um, Argon. Is it Argon?
Yeah, he seemed like the cocky type.
Yeah. So then Chaol is at this moment like annoyed. He's looking out for who the spy could be, see any rings or collars, and he's basically waiting for the healer to come now the next day. So that dinner was a little bit anticlimactic. Then he's at his room the next day. Yrene arrives, and Chaol notices her beautiful eyes immediately. And I was like, oof.
They're like gold.
Yeah. And she is very curt with him. He can tell by her accent that she's from Fenharrow in the Otterland, jurisdiction. And Prince Hussar arrives and is actually friends with Yrene. So Yrene is beginning her assessment of him, and she's kind of being really mean to him, and she's embarrassing him. And Yrene says that his injuries are bad, and obviously, and that she needs time to talk to her superior. And basically, she's taking this time to decide. She's kind of been given a choice technically, like she can go and heal him, um, or um, the head healer said that she also just maybe doesn't have to, but she's like, I want you to hear him out. Yrene leaves, and Nezrin has taken her paper, which she had in one of her pockets, and it has 4 names on it. And she reads the 4 names to Chaol, and there's one name on the list that's like really emphasized, and it is Josephine. And Chaol kind of feels like he might recognize this name, but he feels like there's something important about that name, Josephine.
Yeah, this is Nazrin's paper, right? Or not Nazrin, Irene's paper.
Irene's paper.
Yeah,
Yes.
because Josephine is her mother's name.
Josephine's her mother,
Yes,
we learn.
that's what we thought.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was funny when she was asking all these questions. She's like, "Are you able to use it in bed?" And Carol's just like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Great. All right, chapter 6. Yrene is talking with the head healer Hafiza and says that she can heal Chaol since it's like an injury that she's healed before. Nazarene then goes to visit her family in the city, which her aunt, uncle, and cousins, basically on her dad's side. Sartak asks if he can escort her there because he like finds her on the way. And they start talking, and he starts to tell her that he was 12 when he first rode a rook. He stole a ride, and as punishment, he had to go live with the Rookin, which are like the rook riders. And then Kadara hatched when he was 15, and he is and has been his rook ever since. So a little backstory about Sartak.
Because we'll see him a lot. So in chapter 7, Chaol summons Kaja, the servant, to his room, and he asks her to go to the docks where typically gossip is spread, and he wants to have her learn about the attack on Rifthold. And so he asks her to also take him before to the eldest Prince Argan's room. Now, he goes to the room and Prince Argan is like in there admiring his birds. And Kale asks Argan for information. And Argan says that he can't tell him anything because too many eyes are watching and asks Kale to leave. And this was like a little like, what do you mean? Kale seems to think that it's just the two of them in his room, and Argan's like, too many people are watching. So obviously there's something sus. Then Kaja, I should say, did not have any information from the docks. Nezrin also has not returned home back to the castle. And Yrene arrives at dinner. So a lot of things are going on in this chapter. And Caution starts speaking to Kale at dinner and says that he hears Irene's taking care of him, and it's kind of like a little jealousy. Irene's ignoring Caution, and then Kale starts talking to Caution about his job leading the armies and it's like trying to pry information out of him. And Caution starts to give too much information, and Prince Argan interjects and is like, "You need to shut up." And it kind of felt obvious to me in this moment that Caution might not be the highest prospect to become the next Coggin. And it seemed like Prince Argan, who is kind of like the political one, has kind of almost inserted himself into that role already. So I thought that might be something interesting to watch and note as the book goes on, that it seems like Argan might be the next Coggin, but we'll see if that actually happens. Anyways, they're there at the dinner, and Chaol is continuing to become concerned that Nezrin hasn't arrived back from her family. And Yrene gives him a look, basically, not to reveal his concern to them. And she's kind of helping him, being like, don't show weakness in front of these people. And so all he can do is wait, and he stays up all night until she gets home at 1 a.m. And she seems like immediately like happier. She's been in kind of this depressed mood since she learns about Rifthold. And so her father ended up writing a letter that got sent out to the family there, that they got out told, but the family doesn't know where they are.
And Kale is not super happy that she did not leave a note.
Yeah.
Chapter 8. Yrene tells Kale she will heal him and he will walk again. She also warns him that there are spies all over that work for the Coggin and his children. So, as Argan was like, we can't talk here, that's because Hussar, literally anybody might have spies in that castle.
Yeah.
As soon as Yrene touches Kale's wounds with her magic, she feels this uneasy, cold, dark presence that's almost like angry. And it's kind of like a remainder of the magic that was used on him. She immediately demands to know what happened, and then Kale tells her about word gates, word stones, the Volg, Erewhon, etc. He does leave out certain parts about Dorian's dad being a slave to one, or that Dorian was also enslaved by a Volg prince. He also doesn't say who attacked him or who Duke Parrington really is.
So then in chapter 9, we get kind of this chapter that begins with Yrene, and she's at the Torre, and she's relaxing in a hot spring cave, basically under the Torre. And it's meant just for healers to connect with the god Silba. And there are bells everywhere representing all of the healers who've studied there in the past, and they're just like slowly ringing. And the area represents the god Silba's womb. Yrene thinks about how difficult it will be to heal Chaol's magical wound and to fight basically this demon out of him. And the darkness in the cave seems to start to her and tell her that she must enter where she fears to go, meaning enter into this journey of healing with him. And she's like, I can't do this. And another healer comes in crying and goes into her own little cave spring. And Yrene just goes over silently and just holds her hand. And this girl apparently kind of looked a bit like Yrene, and that's going to be important to note. And then we kind of change scenes, and Chaol and Nesrin are eating again with the royal family. He still doesn't see any signs of Volg from the servants or guards. And the youngest daughter, Duva, though, in my mind, I wrote this right here. Duva seems a bit sus with her husband. They're just kind of like very quiet and like a bit like out of it. And so I wrote that she's sus and we need to watch her. She's pregnant, and I think she might have the most to gain by working with the enemy in order to protect her child. So I just kind of got that from this chapter. Kale asks the Coggin for a private meeting, who says to talk to his secretary. He's like, "You want a private meeting with me? Talk to my secretary," which is like a polite way of saying to piss off. And that his focus is on helping his grieving wife. Kale
Sure.
starts to talk to Sartak, right? Instead, his flying rook named Kadara, and him and Nesrin plot to get her in the air with Sartak with him to help figure out kind of what side he's on.
Chapter 10, Yrene is in the library at the Torre Chesme researching what Kale told her, and she's trying to find out more about what caused his wound in order to heal him. The head librarian finds her plenty of material and scrolls about dark magic, demons, and then wounds from those demons. And she ends up finding a text from Eelway, called The Song of the Beginning, telling the story of the three Vulg kings, Erewhon, Orcus, and Mantix. When Yrene is ready to leave, she feels this uneasy feeling like she's being watched, like there's a presence following her. And it's a very, very dark in the distance. Like she's like, it's like she can't even see anything. And she leaves super quickly and she's like speed walking, but she's like, if I run, it'll chase. And she finds this dead healer on the way with the life sucked out of her. And it turns out to be that healer that she saw in that cave, who apparently looked like Yrene. And she is still being chased. Then she finds more healers who are alive and then tells them to like sound the alarm that there's been an attack. And so everybody's on high alert.
Yeah. And she was very smart doing this, and she got these kind of defensive skills actually from Aelin, from Assassin's Blade. And so she was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, so good to see you. You know, what are you doing here so late? Like, you shouldn't be here so late." Kind of, and acts like she's talking to someone, acts like there are other people around. It was very clever, very
Hmm.
clever.
She's got good
Then
survival instincts for sure.
yeah. Then in chapter 11, Yrene the next day is late to see Chaol, and she sends the servant, Chaol's servant, away. And she then tells Chaol about the killed healer and about them kind of stalking her the night before, and that they didn't find the killer. The killer was not found. She said the girl seemed to be drained, and so Chaol's like, "That's a Volg attack." And she says that she thinks they attacked the wrong person accidentally, that the girl looked like her, and that she thinks that they were looking for her. She says that the books she was reading about the Volg were gone when she returned to the library after. And it seems like it was potentially a Volg prince by how the dead girl was drained. So then he tells her that Caution thinks that the princess was actually killed, the youngest daughter, and that the High Healer declared her death a suicide, which is, I think, interesting. So, like, I'm also a little sus of the High Healer because she's supposed to be the best and she thinks that this was a suicide, but I just have a strong feeling that it probably wasn't. Yrene then says that she needs to go warn the Coggin, or not she, but that Chaol needs to warn the Coggin. And Yrene teaches basically a defense class at the Torre, and she's like, "Chaol, like, will you come help?" and Yrene thinks the enemy wants to kill her for healing him, not just finding out the information about them. And then Yrene touches his mark. Finally, she's like brave enough to touch his mark and she starts screaming.
Yeah, it's also important to point out too that she did save the Song of Beginning, so she did save that one scroll.
Hmm.
Chapter 13, nope, chapter 12. Yrene starts the healing process and it causes Chaol this intense pain. Yrene can feel this echo of the dark magic in the wound and it does not want her there. It's almost like a possession, like get out kind of thing. Chaol will be in excruciating pain the whole time that she heals him, and Yrene will need to fight the dark magic while healing him. Yrene also says that Chaol needs to open up and talk about what happened to also heal his emotional trauma, but he is so stubborn and he won't do it. Chaol then wants, in a different scene, Chaol wants Nezran to try and talk with Sartak about helping Adarlan, so she goes and she finds him in the Eyrie. He takes her for a ride on his Rook, Kadara, not in a different way. They talk about Adarlan and what Aelin did to the king, since the rumor is that Aelin killed the king, but remember, Dorian actually killed his father.
Hmm.
And Nezran says that the king was a monster and Aelin did the continent a favor by getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Kind of
13
sounds funny though. He takes her for a ride on his Rook.
takes her for a ride. The big Rook. Uh, 13, Yrene is exhausted from working on Chaol. She's fighting against this wall of darkness and says that it's like she's looking through someone else's eyes kind of in that moment. And it shows her an army at Morath. So she's worked on him for what we learned to be 5 hours, and she is just like so drained, and Chaol tells her to rest. His servant arrives again after Yrene had kind of sent her away, if you remember. And Yrene calls for the servant and she pops up immediately. She was eavesdropping. So actually, I take that back. She hasn't sent her away yet. Maybe she did. I don't know. Yrene does this sending away thing a lot because she doesn't trust anyone for good reason. But anyway, she calls a servant. Servant pops up. She was eavesdropping immediately. And Chaol helps Yrene like have a drink and he invites her for dinner and she's like, I don't want to have dinner with you. I'm leaving. And then Nezran arrives and tells him that Sartak might actually be an ally. And he tells her to that there's a Volg in the city and she needs to go hunt the Volg. Nezran then leaves after dinner to hunt and she sees the Coggan's wife in the garden walking around in mourning. She arrives at the Torre and runs into Sartak, who is actually following her, and she tells him about her family, and he says that he will have spies on the lookout for her dad and sister, who were, remember, left Rifthold after the attack, and that his spies will be on the lookout for them and try and bring them there. Then she immediately tells him about the Volg and to basically kill anyone who has a black ring or collar on immediately. And she tells him the story about the king being trapped and about Dorian as well. So she's like, she just opens up about things that Chaol wasn't really telling anyone yet. And then Sartak says that there's a record of Volg there, and he will, if there is a record of Volg there, he'll look into it.
Mhm. Then we go to chapter 14. Yrene meets Chaol and he gets on a horse basically, and they ride over to the self-defense class. And Chaol is so ecstatic to be on top of this horse and to be able to ride again. It's actually a really good moment for him. But then the happiness is quickly short-lived because Yrene then allows some of the girls, some of the healers, to help him down off his horse as a teaching lesson for healers. And Chaol is furious. He is embarrassed and his pride just took a hit. He's like, I can get down by myself. And she's like, I just wanted this to be a learning lesson for the healers. And he kind of felt used.
And they almost
And like,
dropped him too. Like they
yeah,
almost hurt him. So it was like, I felt bad for him. I was like, honestly, I get it, Chaol. This was a
I did
bit
too.
like,
I felt why he was angry. She kind of just used him as a teaching tool
mm-hmm.
without asking him first.
Yeah. And he came there being like, I'm the big man, you know. And so he was like, basically, how are they going to take me seriously when they just
Yeah.
have. pull me off a horse.
And he's a prideful soldier. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's not going to go well.
For sure. And he's still accepting this, what's happened to him. So then in chapter 15, the defense lesson ends and Chaol is being rude towards Yrene. They go back to the castle for his healing lesson. And while they're doing that, Yrene runs into Caution, who seems concerned for her and says that he's put out more guards at the Torre at night after the attack. And Yrene sends the servant, like I mentioned before, Kaja, away. Her and Chaol run into Nesrin, who is once again like hopeful, and she is now hopeful that she learns that Chaol could ride a horse. Chaol lays into Yrene basically for demoralizing him and having the students prod him and move him around without his permission. And she feels bad and tells him Otterland soldiers burnt her mother alive when she was 11. So this isn't like a oh, feel bad for me kind of thing. But it was like, hey, I'm sorry, to make up for it, I'll give you some personal information about me. And this is what happened to my mom. This is maybe
Yeah.
why I'm a bit hesitant about you.
Yeah. They're both kind of opening up to each other throughout this book. They're both just kind of being vulnerable.
Mhm.
That's good to see. It's good character development.
Yeah.
I'm also at this point, I was like, okay, Caution's not that bad. Caution actually, just because his feelings aren't being reciprocated, he's not going to be a dick.
Hmm.
He still cares about Yrene.
Yeah. And I think we'll learn when we go into episode 2 about kind of a little bit more what happens between Yrene and Caution.
Hmm. And then we get to chapter 16. During another healing session, Chaol sees these painful memories, which Yrene can also see. And it's basically Sorsha's head rolling on around the floor and all these flashbacks. And so he tells her about Sorsha being beheaded and Chaol fleeing and leaving Dorian behind. And then, OMG, Chaol opened up and then he can curl his toes.
Yeah.
So he can feel his toes.
Yeah. So he's like, it's slowly starting to heal, and that's like big. And so chapter 17, Nesrin goes to see her family and she warns them about the killing and that they should hire more guards at their home's gates. And her aunt then asks Nesrin, when are you gonna tell us that you've been hanging out with Prince Sartak? So it's just kind of funny. It seems like everyone has spies or like everyone talks. And so that was just a funny thing. She's like goofing around and she's like, I thought you were going to bring someone with you. And Nesrin's like, oh, well, Chaol's doing this. And she was like, I wasn't talking about Chaol. I heard you hanging out with Prince Sartak. Bring home a prince, girl.
Bring home a rook.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny. But I will say, so that's kind of the last chapter we're going to go over. I so far am really liking this one,
Hmm.
really liking this book. Um, And I think Chaol is having kind of like a comeback story. I'm definitely liking Chaol more because obviously in the last couple of books we're just like, boo, Chaol, you suck. Um,
Hmm.
but he's definitely redeeming himself, and I really like the mystery in this one. You know
Yeah.
me.
Of course, the whodunit detective. Who did it? So, yeah, the whole thing with Chaol, up until this point, I was still kind of like, meh, Chaol, you are very stubborn.
Yeah.
You have to get over things. You have to talk about your trauma. Like, again, we have to talk about too, there was on Main Character Syndrome Pod's Instagram, we posted something with Chaol, and everybody was like talking about Chaol. And then someone did bring up something that I always forget in these books. Chaol was 19 or like 20, 21. Like, he's
Yeah, he
a
was like 21.
baby.
Yeah, I think he's 23 now.
He's
So,
23. Aelin was 19,
yes. So, I mean, he's like 21 years old, 21,
but he's
22.
still a baby.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine going through all this at 22, 23?
Yeah, I guess he would have been probably 22 at the time. Yeah.
Like, I was stuffing my face full of McDonald's and studying for finals at
Yeah.
22.
That was a nice like PG thing for you to say that you were doing at 2023. I was probably doing worse things. But not, yeah, not being responsible in the slightest.
At 19, the worst thing they had to do was getting a minor. At 23, I
Yeah.
don't know, getting fired from your job. Like
Mm-hmm.
these guys are worried about literally dying. But yeah, so this book is good. It's got a lot of the, if it didn't have the mystery element, it would be very, very slow.
Yes. But I love the mystery element. I'm like, you know me, I'm like, who's the spy?
hmm Who's killing everyone? Like, where
Mm-hmm.
are the Volg?
Yeah, because no one can see a ring or a collar.
hmm
So I'm interested to see about that.
I don't think you're going to predict it because I did read this a little bit faster than you this time. So I have already read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you're going to figure it out. I'm excited to see if you do, though.
Sure hope so.
So we'll
I'm
find out
calling
what happens next
I'm
in
calling
our
dibs.
next episode. To the readers who listen, we'll see you later.
Bye everyone.